Once again, good Freedom Friday, friends and associates, fellow conservatives. It is a great day out here at Front Porch Studios somewhere in Syracuse, Utah. The weather is beginning to change and it's starting to feel like we are approaching the fall season. So that's good. I hate to see the summer go, but the seasons are enjoyable around here except for winter. Um, Anyway, I'm dressed in my appropriate attire for a Mickey Mouse operation we're going to talk about today, as you can see. The Mickey Mouse operation involves the DOJ and the FBI, and we're going to talk strictly about the Mar-a-lago raid and the documents recovered down there. So the FBI goes down, they do an unprecedented raid. Of course, they're not going to call it a raid because that language sounds too strong. It was a peaceful execution of a search warrant. Well, it was a raid. They raid Mar-a-Lago. They recover thousands and thousands of documents placed in bankers' boxes that were under lock and key at Mar-a-Lago. Now, remember, Mar-a-Lago was kind of like Air Force One is to the Capitol. Mar-a-Lago was where President Trump spent a whole lot of time as he presided as president over the United States of America. So it should be no surprise that these documents are down there. Now, we're not even going to get into the ins and outs of the whys and the hows that these documents are down there. But prior to this FBI raid, nobody knew anything about these documents and what a quote unquote, air quote here, big deal this was that these documents are down at Mar-a-Lago, because people didn't know. And had they known, the mainstream media would have been pounding on this forever about how bad this was. The mainstream media didn't know until the FBI dropped a dime and said, hey, come on down here and get some shots of police cars going lights and cordoning off Mar-a-Lago while they execute this search warrant and go through Melania's lingerie drawers in search of national treasures. Maybe something on the line of maybe they even consulted Nicolas Cage about this. I don't know. There's certainly a possibility. So they go down there, they get all these documents. Trump demands that an inventory of the documents is released. He demands that the affidavit for the search warrant application is released. And the DOJ and the FBI, of course, they push back on this because they say these documents are so sensitive and so secret, and this investigation is so long and long-armed that they can't release any of this stuff. It's too sensitive. Well, they finally get their hands pushed. They release a almost 90% redacted version of these documents. For those of you not familiar, redacted means they give you the actual reports, but anything that is of any substantive value is completely blacked out. So you're seeing a few words here and there that make no sense standing alone, and then the next 2 or 3 or 4 paragraphs is completely blacked out. So this is some serious stuff. We don't want any of this stuff getting out, obviously, according to the way the FBI and the DOJ is playing this out. Well, as time goes on and the story starts to lose momentum. Now, don't forget that this story kicked off just about the time that the January 6th committee hearings were really losing steam. And then, of course, poor Liz Cheney gets fired from her job in Wyoming. So they need something new. So that's where the Mar-a-Lago raid comes from. That's what that was the primary motivator in this, no doubt. They go down and do this, and these things are so dangerous that now you have the DOJ and the FBI, you have insider whistleblowers, if you want to use that term loosely, releasing little tidbits to the media. How do we know this? Well, because the media gets this stuff and they run with it. First, it was nuclear secrets, and we've got all kinds of nuclear secrets. Well, the media didn't pull this out of thin air. They're getting spoon-fed this from powerful people at the DOJ, the FBI, people that have inside knowledge, and of course they're going to be very selective in what information they're leaking based on what kind of political narrative this is going to make and what kind of political damage this is going to do to the GOP and specifically due to Trump and any future political ambitions that he might have. So let's go back to how dangerous this stuff is, and they're spoon feeding. There's nuclear secrets now. The most recent one is, well, there's some documents that fully disclose the nuclear readiness of allied nations to America. Um, if this stuff is so secret, then why do we have insiders in the DOJ and the FBI violating the law, leaking this information to the news media? Now, let's just pretend for a minute that we've got equal protection, equal prosecution under the law. Um, okay, what did Trump do? Trump had boxes and boxes of documents stored down at Mar-a-Lago under lock and key. The FBI knew damn well where they were. They knew exactly where they were. Um, and this stuff is just so important to national security that it cannot get out. Well, Trump never leaked anything. We didn't know any of this stuff until the DOJ, the FBI go down and perform arguably what would be considered an unconstitutional search of his personal property. Um, the crime done there, he possessed it. Okay, well, let's look at the crimes of the DOJ and the FBI. They are releasing details of documents, alleged documents, alleged details to the press for all the world to see, to expose those documents and those secrets in their entirety of, of naked truth right out there for all to see. So which was more damaging to the national security of the United States? What Trump did or what the DOJ did, the FBI did, and what they're continuing to do to this day? So once again, we're put back in a position of the average American is growing weary of this, and if you've got two brain cells to rub together, the national security threat does not come from Donald Trump. The national security threat comes from the FBI, the DOJ, the very organizations that are put in place to basically be the law and order for this, and to limit exposure of sensitive things like this that might be damaging to the heart and soul of America. So far we haven't really seen the FBI go through and try to clean house on any of this stuff. And when you preface this with the fact that Merrick Garland, who, him and the other wingnut over there at the FBI, give all their statements to, joint houses of Congress committees, by saying we speak through our court filings, we speak through our court actions, we're not at liberty to give you this information. That's all fine and dandy, but they seem way more concerned about the stored boxes at Mar-a-Lago than they do about leaks coming from their own departments. You've got Merrick Garland coming out and giving a statement about the entirety of this raid and how this raid went down and his choice to make the raid. Sounds very counter to his other statements and to Ray's statements from the FBI about we speak entirely through court filings, court proceedings. Well, apparently they do until they don't, because he went on and gave a pretty good long monologue describing what was going on and why he made the choices that he did. So once again, the average American, anybody that has functioning brain cells in their head, can look at this and say, well, they follow the rules until they don't. These things are national security threats until they aren't. And the FBI, DOJ, especially in their complete rejection of having a special master preside over the vetting of these documents, they want to police themselves. They want to be the ones that have the end-all say-all, and they don't want anybody else telling them what to do. They don't want any accountability for what they're doing, and they want to do it in the darkness and the cover of night. So just something to keep in mind as some of this stuff breaks out. Of course, with polling, all this is they're trying to damage the GOP. They're trying to damage Donald Trump. And, you've got Hillary going on The View, and of course they welcome Hillary there with open arms, and I'm sure they gave her a bouquet of flowers, and they stipulate to all her talking points, and if they give her any questions, it's all softball questions. Hillary not only had thousands and thousands and thousands of documents, some top secret, classified, that were never cleared. Hillary does not have the authority that a president has to declassify any documents at will, like Trump would have had. She's storing these on a Clinton.com server in her bathroom. When these things get subpoenaed, she physically breaks the hardware. She tries to destroy the software by bleaching these items. And you have James Comey, the same James Comey that had utter disdain for Trump, get up there and say, well, she did some things that were sloppy, but not quite to the point of being criminal. And you have Hillary with a straight face talking about how damaging this is, what Trump has done. Give me a break. It's time for everybody to wake up and listen. Again, thanks for watching. The midterms are coming up. Get registered to vote if you're not registered to vote. And when voting day comes around, we need to get out there and cast our votes. Don't let them water this down by putting out their stories through the liberal-controlled media about how the Republicans are really not doing all that well. Do not let them discourage you from getting out and voting. Hit that ballot box, and the more people we have hitting the ballot box with conservative voices, the more difficult it is going to be for them to manipulate election results like they have in the past. So with that said, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll be back hopefully again next week, if not sooner, with more material for you. So happy fall weekend. Go out and enjoy the weather, enjoy your family, and thank the good Lord above for all the blessings that we have.